forward-facing sonar, like it or not, it's a player in fishing right now. And to have another tool to help me catch fish that I see on that active target, to help me catch fish that I see on forward-facing, that's going to be killer.
Going Ike, brought to you by Abu Garcia.
It's the first one I'm ever tying on legitimately. This is literally the first time I have this thing in my hand. So what you're watching, this is all real. And I'm looking at this bait and I understand it instantly. And if you look at this bait, you're going to see something very strange. I'm going to take it out of the pack, get this KREJ out of the pack, and I want to show you. And it's pretty amazing. So here's the brand new Berkley KREJ. Here is a standard jerkbait. That's a stunner. You're going to notice something very unique about that bait. And it is the bill. It's backwards. The bill's upside down. It's in an up position instead of a down position. And I know without even throwing this thing that that's going to give this bait an upward lift instead of a down diving lift, okay? All right, I know what you're saying. Well, what are you talking about? And why would you want that bait to rise? But here's the deal. Pick the translucent bait, and if you can see, we have strategically placed weights in that KREJ. And those weights are going to allow this bait to sink. That's right. This is a sinking style jerkbait. I haven't even thrown it yet, but I'm already imagining the possibilities of taking this KREJ, letting it sink down to the fish. By the way, I have a feeling we're going to have a little backward shimmy on the fall of this bait. I'm not tied to that bill. I'm not under the influence of having to work the bait deep. The bait's going to go where I want it to go because it sinks. It's shaking backwards. Imagine the possibilities of this, getting it to a fish that I see, 2D, side imaging, forward-facing sonar, letting it get to the fish, and then the bait rises away from the fish. Think about the control of that. I'm looking at this bait and I'm imagining the control I'm going to have of this bait. The other thing I love about it is, you know, a regular jerkbait, not only do you have to work to get it deep, but you sort of have to impart the action and use your rod to make this bait go up. Now this bait's going to rise on its own. And you know fish love to rise to the bait, right? Naturally in the environment, a lot of fish, when they're chasing, they chase up. They want to pin that forage to the surface, right? That's going to allow that bait to do it on its own. Man, I'm looking at this bait. I'm loving it. I feel like with the weight of it, it's going to cast a mile. Pretty unique line tie, if you look at that. And the line tie on most standard jerkbaits is on the nose of the bait. And on the KREJ, the line tie is on the nose of the lip. Once again, that's really, I think, going to help me with lift, and it's going to help me with control of the bait. Looking at the pack, says it right there, optimized for FFS. It's optimized for forward-facing sonar. Listen, if this is a tool to help me with that forward-facing sonar, I'm all in. You know, I'm one of the older guys out here, and technology is not necessarily always my friend. So I need these baits. I need the help to get that bait to the fish that I see and to make them bite. So first look at the KREJ. That's the 100 size. Pretty awesome, but proof's in the pudding. Now it's time, let's tie this bait on and let's fish it and really see how it compares to a standard jerkbait. And let's watch this thing on forward-facing sonar. Here it goes. I'm in them now. Right now. I'm in them. I'm in them. Oh, look, I chased them. I chased the bait. They didn't like it. They thought they were getting eaten by the Crudge. Hey, the Crudge is going to eat me. See, but here's the deal. This was a normal jerkbait. I'd never get it down to them, you know? I would never, ever get it down to those fish right there. And here, look, I'm on the bottom with them right now. I literally let it sink to the bottom. Oh, I'm right on them now. Let's see. Look, 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 look. See, and those fish are laying on the bottom. I could never do that with a regular jerkbait. I can never get that deep to them. And if I did, I'd have to work my off to get it down there. You know what I mean? But here, I'll show you what it looks like. There it goes. See how it sinks a foot a second? And so now I'm able to like just literally... This is all real. Like this is the first chance I'm seeing this bait in the water. And this bait does not sink like that. This bait sinks like this. It actually glides backwards. Here's the thing I know about bass fishing. I know this motion from soft plastics. I know this motion from swim baits. When that bait comes back at a fish's face, they can't stand it, okay? They want to kill it. When a fish is following this thing and you kill it and it starts gliding back in their face, dude, that's an amazing motion. The other thing that my mind's racing right now, the other thing that I'm thinking about is imagine fishing trees or brush piles or docks or undercut banks where I'm going to be able to allow this lure to literally glide under the cover or under the branches. Dude, think about that. That's incredible. So I love the fact that it doesn't fall like this. It doesn't sink like a rock. It's got about a foot per second fall rate. But the most important thing I'm seeing already is it glides backwards and shimmies on the fall. That's going to be a killer. Holy smokes, dude. Holy smokes. So now now that I know how it falls, oh boy. Look at that, very erratic. Holy smokes. Okay, so guys, this is the first couple times I'm actually even just throwing it and looking at it. And what I'm noticing is I'm seeing this amazing erratic walk the dog motion almost. See if you can see that right there. It's almost this left-right erratic walk the dog with it. A regular jerkbait's not as erratic. The Crudge, to me, just initially making a couple casts with it, has a very erratic nature. It goes left and right, like almost like walking the dog underwater, but it also goes a little more left or a little more right depending on the motion of the bait. So, you know, knowing from crankbait fishing, spinner baits, vibration jigs, anything like that, anytime you change the normal center of the bait, if it goes a little left, it goes a little right, that's a trigger point. I think that's going to get a lot of reaction strikes for sure. So on this cast, I'm throwing the Crudge out and I'm reeling it in, and this bait swims almost like a crankbait when you reel it in. Look at that, little tight swimming motion, left to right, and I'll try to keep it just below the surface so you guys can see it, but it reminds me of a tight wobble crankbait. Look at that thing swimming. See that little left and right? That to me is cool because it allows you to do something else with the retrieve. So now if I see a fish on forward-facing sonar, I get it to him. I could jerk it a little. If that fish doesn't like that, I can stop it, let it fall back in his face, and then I could just reel it. So I think in my mind what that lip is doing is as it catches water and starts to rise, it's swimming, just like a crankbait, right? So although it's a jerkbait style lure, it's got an amazing tight swimming action like a crankbait. So I love that on one cast, I'm going to be able to change the way this bait moves. With a traditional jerkbait, it's really hard to do anything else But with this lure, I can let it fall. I could walk it like a regular jerkbait. I could pause it, let it fall back in his face. And last but not least, look at this, guys. I could just reel it. And when I reel this bait, it swims. This is the kind of bait that I think you could use from top to bottom. The Crudge is a bait that works all the way down in 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 feet of water, but it's also a bait that I can fish on the surface. You know, fish love to trap the bait on the surface. And because the Crudge has a reverse bill, a backwards bill, this bait's going to rise. So what about this lure as a topwater? That's got me interested. I want to just kind of see if I keep it near the top. And there you go, guys. Look at this. I'm working it like a topwater, and it's skimming the surface. And here's the cool thing. Like a regular topwater lure, it's stuck on the surface, right? It's stuck on the top. But with this bait, I could work it on the surface, I could kill it, let it sink, and then because that bill is reverse, it goes back to the top. Imagine a topwater lure that sinks, and then you can make it a topwater again just by reeling it fast and holding your rod tip up. I had one more to the list on the Crudge, guys, is that it's a phenomenal surface bait as well. But remember, normal jerkbait, the bill is like that. On the Crudge, the bill is reverse. It's backwards, and the line tie is on the bill. So we're going to get a tremendous rise out of the bait, but this bait as a jerkbait is just as good. So the one thing that I'm noticing is that you don't even need big twitches to make this thing very erratic. So I'm just doing my normal twitching with my wrists and the tip of my rod. I'm throwing slack in between the twitches. Let's see if I can get it to the surface here and show you. Watch how this thing goes left and right. Look, left, right, left, right. So it's walking the dog, but look how erratic it is compared to a normal jerkbait. Last but not least, and I hope you really can see this one, is the way this bait falls. Remember, the Crudge is not a floating jerkbait. It's not a suspending jerkbait. The Crudge is not a lure that you have to work to get it to the fish. This lure gets to the fish all by itself because it sinks. Sinks about a foot a second. But remember, it doesn't sink like a rock, boom, straight down. It sinks like this. It glides backwards, and it shakes as it falls. Think about if a fish was chasing that lure, and you stop and kill it, and all of a sudden it shakes back in his face. He can't help but to eat it. That's a huge trigger motion for all of fishing, is something coming back at the fish. There's hardly any other lures, especially not hard lures, that can do that motion. So the last thing that I love about this Crudge, and I'll just make small casts here to show you, is that when you let it sink, it shakes and it falls away from the fish. Ready? It shakes and it falls away. And that is the perfect sink rate too, because, you know, I want something that sinks, I want control, but I want it to just gently fall in his face. And about a foot a second is perfect. And, you know, knowing that too, if I see one on forward-facing sonar, I could count it down to the fish. If that fish is in 10 foot of water and I'm in 20, I count to 10. As I'm counting to 10, it's falling, it's shaking the whole way. That's a great lure. You have great control of it. Here's another look at it falling. You ready? Shaking and falling out of the picture. Shaking and falling out of the picture. And once again, not falling straight down, gliding backwards. Look at it. Look at it. It's going that way. It's going that way. Showed up behind it. Interested, but then stopped, you know. Oh, there's a big one. There's a big one. Come on. Crazy. Oh, there goes one. There's one. Stay down, stay down, stay down. think it's a decent one. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. Guys, there's a good look. That's the brand new Berkley KREJ. And KREJ is jerk spelled backwards. There's a good look at how those fish hit it. If you notice what we were fishing there, it was a high spot. That high spot was in about 18 or 20 foot of water. A normal jerkbait, a normal lipped jerkbait like that, you can never get down that deep. But because this KREJ sinks, I allowed it to get down, and I watched that fish coming after it. I twitched up and I killed it, and as it came back down toward him, he smoked it. So good look. This is the kind of bait when things get tough, you could get some bites. Add that to your arsenal with forward-facing sonar, you're going to catch more bass. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli. Thank you for watching Going Ike. I hope you learned something. While you're here, stop right now, hit that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to my channel. We have new content coming every single week. And while you're here, check out these other 2 videos. They're really, really good.